How's that? All right. Welcome to our Navigating Aging. My name is Cheryl. It's a talk we do every Tuesday on different topics related to aging well and all sorts of things like that. And so we talk about a different topic each week and have sharing, question and answer, community time. Today's topic is saving versus serving ourselves and others. So we'll talk more about that. Serving versus saving. Are we saving? Does someone else need saving?
I was thinking you were saying bathing because I'm a big,
yes,
big bather.
Bathing. I like that too. Bathing or saving or serving.
That's for next week.
Surfing.
Good question. So we'll start off with calling in the light. It's just a way to bring ourselves together in the loving and God's presence here with us. And we'll follow that by 3 Anai hues. Anai is a way to bring in compassion and empathy, and hue is an ancient name for God. So would someone like to call us forward into the light today?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
So let's close our eyelids and come present to the sweetness of our hearts, the sweetness of this gathering. And take a moment to pause from our day. Lord God of the universe, Father, Mother, God, we are so very grateful to come here in your name, in the spirit and the joy and the loving, the information, the grace that comes forward during this time. We ask for the presence, guidance, and protection of the mystical traveler consciousness and preceptor consciousness to be here with us now. We ask that Cheryl and Karen and each person gathered here, those who have come but aren't here today, and all the ministers and initiates, and all those who are dealing with aging, be surrounded, filled, and protected with the pure, white, loving light. We ask that each of our precious sacred temples, our beautiful body temples, our sacred spaces, all be surrounded, filled, and protected with the pure, white, loving light. We ask that the light column that's within each of our homes, our spaces, reach deep down into the earth and way up high into the realms, and that each one be strengthened and cleansed and purified, and that they all come together in support of this meeting. We ask that any karma, negativity, imbalance, dis-ease, misperception, misidentification, miscommunication, and anything else that's ready to be released be taken way up high into the realms through those light columns, and they are transmuted into more loving, understanding, joy, grace, beauty, spirit, awareness, wisdom, deepening, and laughter. And dear Lord, we're so very grateful to have been chosen for this path and to continue choosing back, knowing that always, Father, thy will be done. So be it.
So be it.
Anai.
Anai. Anai.
All right. Well, welcome. Thank you, each of you, for joining us here today. Each bring just a unique ray of the light colors and present. So thank you. So today, so my name is Cheryl, and I have been a geriatric care manager in my life for over 20 years, which means I've helped individuals and their families walk through all the challenges of aging. Usually when I first get a call is when people go from I'm doing fine to I'm not fine, all the way until I'm dead. Like that whole span in there where challenges happening as we age. And so what do I want to say about that? So with our calls here, I bring different topics to the table, and then I like hearing from you all as far as what your experience is, and if you have questions, comments for either me or for our wise family here. So one of the topics that comes up a lot is people. I'll say family members, but family is a general term. It's not necessarily a blood family. It's just whoever is family or loved ones worrying about someone who is older. Say, I'm worried that person shouldn't really be living alone anymore. They are not safe. I need to do something, or they might try to get a whole group of people together. We need to do something because it's sort of like we need to save that person. And oftentimes that question comes to me, and usually the answer is that person doesn't need to be saved. We need to respect that person's process and karma, and we can offer assistance, and if they would like to take us up on it, we can help in whatever way we're called to. And I'll preface this with, if that person, the older person that people are worried about, has capacity. So that means they understand the consequences of their behavior. So cognitively, they're thinking, I want to say clearly, but clearly is not exactly the word. Because a lot of times from the outside, people seem to be making bad choices to the people around them. Like, well, if you just accepted help, it would be better for you. Or if you just moved to an assisted living, it would be better. Or if you just came to live with me, whatever the solution is, the people that are caring and looking out for that older person, somehow they think their idea is better. And if they would only listen to us, then it would be better. So there's a sense of that we need to save them. So that's the saving. And sometimes it even comes up with our family and with Heartfelt and MSIA, that someone hears something, oh, so-and-so needs help. Let's send them a light. And then what can we do to help them? And there's plenty of people that will help. And it often will come down to, does the person really want the help? So I keep reminding people after, so when I was first a geriatric care manager doing this work, I could see how I could make a situation better, safer for a person. And I thought, oh, out of the goodness of my heart, and I have energy and good ideas, I'm gonna help. And the adult children who were helping, say, their parents, they wanted to help too. So I was helping them help their parents. But their parent really usually did not want the help, or a lot of the help that the kids were doing. So maybe the kids would come in and like, you need to go to the senior center and be social, and you need to drink green juice and acupuncture, and quite a lot of things that like mom and dad never wanted to do in their life. So why would they want to start now? And I found myself, I was working a lot harder than the person that I thought needed help. And so after a lot of like banging my head on the wall, trying, I really saw very clearly that my job was not to save them, it was to serve them. And to ask myself, what is mine to do here? And did that person want my help? And sometimes when I thought, oh, that person really could use some help, whether it was, I'm trying to think of, like, sometimes it's like caregiving in a home. Maybe they need a ride to places. Maybe they needed some help with their dog, things like that. And I would think and think and think, and I'd start worrying about, oh, they need some help with this situation. And then all of a sudden, I talked to that person, and they found a way to solve that problem, where before I thought they couldn't. And that's where people will sort of act like a victim, and like that pulls on my heartstrings. Like, oh my gosh, they need help. And then if I'm not involved for a little bit, they just go solve it. And sometimes that person, they didn't even need to be in victim mode for me to step up to go, hey, I can help. So either way, whether they're like acting like they need help or they don't, I found that people are so resourceful, so creative, and they could really do it themselves, or they could ask for help. And so I switched my perspective from saving someone to serving them. There's a second level to that, in which I'm aware of. I was really came on my mind just before the call, and I think there's a sense for people in general, and then I'd like to talk to you about your experience about this. But there is a sense that somebody is going to save us. Like if we get, well, it's even before we get like sick or needy, but it's like, well, I'll just go on automatic or give away my power or not feel connected to myself until a life-threatening diagnosis comes. Say someone was diagnosed with breast cancer. My experience with people that are diagnosed with something like that is there's an awakening that they realize that it's only them that is going to be going through it. People can go through a situation with us, they can support us, but inside, like if we need surgery, it's our body, only our body that's going to be affected. If we have pain, or if we have consequences, no, side effects of treatment, we are going to be the ones going through that. Nobody else. And so there's an awakening of, you know what, we come into this life by ourselves and we go out by ourselves. And so there's even like a saving, serving ourself. And I wanted to read this. There's a poem by Mary Oliver. It's called The Journey, regarding this topic. So I wanted to read that to you. This is Mary Oliver. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. So I would love to hear your experiences of that. And I would just say for me personally, that I have certainly, as I age, I'm getting clearer and clearer on that. And and I think it's different with each stage of our life, probably, because so our daughter's 16, almost 17 now. And so there was a certain responsibility to her, right? So I had to serve her and kind of put myself, like there's a selfless thing with a parent, but like not lose myself, but be selfless. And so as she's going away to college, I see this other level of serving myself. So I think this idea changes over time, and is relevant in this whole idea of soul transcendence. And, as we look for the good and the divine in all people and things, and the rest leave to God. And then that, like, is us choosing that. It's me choosing that. And you can love and support me, but I'm the one that needs to do that. And you're the one that gets to do that. And so allowing ourselves the dignity of our own choices and our own karma is a beautiful and, I believe, empowering idea. It's like we have more power than we think or that we know. So love to hear from you all about that or anything else you'd like to talk about today. The floor is yours.
I'm going to need to leave, but what comes up for me is when my mother was ill and then dying, she just kind of left everything up to my brother and I, whatever we did, until her doctor kind of royally screwed her. I won't go into all the story, but then we really wanted her to go get a second opinion and find another doctor. And she adamantly refused because this doctor was a referral from a cousin who was a doctor. So therefore, he's got to be perfect. And no matter what we said, and she saw the craziness of what he was doing, and she wouldn't follow, she wouldn't even go talk to another doctor. So it's like, what I learned is everybody has their thing. She was fine with us doing this and doing that and whatever, and taking her here and recommending this until she was very clear, this is what I'm doing and I don't care. And my brother and I are sure she'd be around another few years if she had listened to us, but who knows? So that's my story for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and then trusting, like, that is exactly the way she wants to do it, right? And celebrating that. And sometimes allowing the other person to have the dignity of their choices and their process just how they want to is challenging, especially if you think, hey, you could live longer if you did this other thing. It's like, who am I to say that person should live longer or differently?
Well, not just longer, but it might have been a better life. That's our judgment or our opinion, and so who knows?
Yeah, right. Good example.
Thank
Thanks.
you. And I do
Thank you.
need to leave. See you next week.
See ya. Karen.
Sorry, I'm driving. So I'm on my way to pick up my mother to go to the doctor. And this is a very timely topic for me. I'm really learning how to allow her process. And so I'm going to just ask for your light. She said to me last week for the first time ever that she thought it might be time to think about getting a caregiver to be with her in her home. And, you know, the part of me that has wanted her to have more support that she hasn't really been open to was like, oh, goody. But I like played it cool. And I was like, okay, just, you know, let me know whenever you're ready. And, you know, she backed off from her idea really quickly, but I'm just trying to follow her lead. And, you know, the part of me that wants her to be in less pain and have a better quality of life and, you know, even to live longer if that's for the highest good. I'm just setting all of those things to the side, recognizing that my mom has the karma she has. I have the karma I have. We're all here to learn whatever we're here to learn. And so if this experience that we're all having as she gets older, I'm just going to trust that it's all on purpose, and whatever it looks like is going to be fine. And I'm trying to take myself and what I think is the best way to do it out of the mix. So thanks for your light. I probably will have to drop off the call because I'm going to pick her up. And I love you all, and see you next week.
Thank you. Lots of light to you and your mom. Nancy?
Well, it's interesting that this is the topic. Interesting to me that this is the topic for this week, more or less, because only this morning I was thinking about respect and thinking I have a situation that I'm working with at the moment, working with somebody else at the moment, that is the core of it is that the other person, I'll call that person the one that doesn't have physical issues, although she does, but she's the caregiver in her mind at least. And I'm thinking how important it is to her to be right. And so she has shared with me her experience of working with somebody who needs support. And how it comes out is, I don't know what's in her mind or in her heart really, but what comes out is a sense that she's right and the other person is wrong in terms of how the other person wants to be taken care of. And so that led me to the word respect, which you stated it very well, Cheryl, the topic, I think, and talking about how, well, I go back to when I first started as a psychotherapist. I didn't become a good therapist until I learned to respect the person I was working with to the extent of holding them lightly, holding their story lightly, so that they could develop the story and develop their own approach to it rather than my intervention. And I think that fits into our topic today because I became pretty good therapist once I understood that, and therapy became I'm going to say this in a way that, with the utmost respect, therapy became easy for me because I wasn't the one in charge. The other person was. So that's my sharing for the moment. God bless us all.
That's beautiful, Nancy. It reminds me of a friend of mine is an executive coach, and she wanted to get this master coaching qualification certification. And so she would tape coaching sessions, and she kept getting the feedback, you're talking too much. So the more masterful she was supposed to be in the eyes of this coaching federation, the less she talked, the more she listened, like you're talking about, Nancy, and that we trust that the other person has inside of them what they need, right? It's their story. They're making it up. They have everything they need. And then can we respect that, them and their process and their story, to allow them to have their story, right? And then
Actually, I'm sorry, go for it.
Please. Yes.
Well, I just had the thought that actually the form that I always followed in my counseling work was psychosynthesis, which if somebody wanted a translation of that, I'll be happy to give it to it. But the core of psychosynthesis, in terms as it's used in counseling, is that the other person has all the answers inside them for themselves. And that's part of learning that, I think, is part of the respect then that comes in. The respect for each human being as having the answers, even though it may seem that they're dependent upon other people, or not. I interrupted you now.
No, yeah, we're on the same page. And then I think the second part for me, when I thought about all the times that I've tried to help other people, is to, like, deep inside of me, like, forgive myself for forgetting that I'm divine, the other person's divine, forgive myself for judging myself for trying to change them or put something on them. And also the unintended consequence for me of that was I realized how deeply loving I was and caring. I wanted the best for this other person. My misinterpretation was that it was best, like it would be best if they did what I wanted them to do. What I do believe is I'm really good at offering options, and then it doesn't really matter to me what option the person takes. But sometimes people don't know, oh, you have this other option. Like, you've got this assisted living in Costa Mesa that's like 5-star, you got to check it out. And then you have the option to do it or not, right? Stay at home, there's other choices. But opening up, sharing options, I think, is a service, and then allowing them their own choice. So in the caring is, yeah, so aware of the loving and the caring for other humans and letting them have their freedom. Susan, hi. There you go.
Very important topic in my life, and experiencing several areas of this, but I want to go back to where the first time it really became aware of being on the other end of that. And that was when I was separating from my husband, and I had my 2-year-old, and my mother came to visit, and she started saying, oh, I'm worried about this, and don't you think you should do that? And this is the way it should happen, and this and that. And I just stopped her. I put my hands up. I said, Mom, I said, I really love you. And I have a lot of stuff inside of me that I want to be able to share with you, but I can't, because I just feel this barrage of you're telling me everything I should do and how I should do it. And so I just want to shut you out. And I said, I want to share with you, but I need you just to listen. And maybe ask me clarifying questions, but not giving me the answers which you think that I need to have. And she said, oh, I never realized I was doing that. And she just backed off and she just started doing that. She just, she was there for another 2 days and just kept asking, well, what are you thinking about this? And oh, that sounds interesting. And what else should you do? And it was amazing to me. And when she left, I was closer to my mother than I ever had been before. And I have now watching that happen with my granddaughter, who has not having a relationship with her father for a while. And he's so brokenhearted that I'm ready to have that conversation with him, because he's always telling her, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and you're not going that way. So it's time for that conversation with him about that. And I just think that whole thing is about, letting people find their own way and just being so supportive, like, oh, tell me more about that. And that's really, yeah, what else do you need? And so that's been a big thing in my life in the last couple of years of following in that path.
Mm. Thank you, Susan. That's a beautiful example. Right, the attitude of being curious. Tell me more about that. And really conveying a trust in that person. If you do have the answers, and you have the courage, and help me find them. Yeah. Can you just sit with me a little while? Yeah, that's gorgeous. Thank you. I was watching Family Feud last night, and one of the questions was, so it's a game show and you try to guess the answers, right? So they interview people and they say, like, all right, what's the top answers to what does a woman want after she has a divorce? What does she want? What new thing does she want? And one of the guys said, a new husband. Like, no, that wasn't even on the list. It was like a new car was on the list. But like, yeah, what does she want? Anyway, I'm not sure why that came to my mind, but it's kind of funny. Carol. Can you hear me, Carol? Your hand is raised.
I can hear you. I can hear you, and I can
are.
see all of you. I'm really sorry. I'm busy with another project that I have to do, and so this is a delight to listen. But there's no but. And I really appreciate. I want to bring one other topic into the conversation, and that is with my mother. When she was living with my brother, and she really was ready to go. She was in her 90s, and she was not able to speak. She had aphasia. Was an early minister, and my brother really was very attached to her. And he also had the power of attorney. I think it was a poor choice, but she had chosen him, and there was nothing my other brother and I could do about it. So it really came to a period of acceptance for me, that I had to accept what he chose. And at the very end, he chose a lot of invasive surgery for her. She had to have a pacemaker made, and she really didn't want it. I had a wonderful kind of communication with her that was not really verbal, and I knew she didn't want that. But I finally decided that this must be karmic, that she stayed around until he was ready to let her go. And so it requires such spiritual strength on my part to allow this situation to be as it was, and to take care of myself. So I had a really good idea about what she would have liked and what she wanted, but I was not in a position to allow that. So I know now that I'm thinking about my own aging, the idea of choosing someone who will make good choices and who's willing to honor my choices and really understands me. It was a great lesson for me, but also a great lesson in acceptance. Sometimes you just have to accept that there's a karmic pattern there, that I had nothing to do that I could do about it. So that's one of the things I wanted to offer into this conversation. Sometimes there's just a period of acceptance of what is. So that's all I've got. And thank you everybody for your conversation. It's always so helpful when I can come in. I really, really enjoy these conversations, even though I may not be visibly, so that you can see how much I enjoy it and how much I get from it. I really do, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. I always love when you show up. It's a great key, acceptance, right? And I've had so many examples of just what you're talking about. Say there's multiple kids in a family, and then one of them will be the power of attorney for healthcare or the trustee of the executor of the estate. And so that it's usually the child that's not chosen for the power of attorney that calls me and said, is telling me the story. Maybe their mom or dad live across the country, and maybe they live closer or with the kid that they've chosen as a power of attorney. That's a common scenario. And oftentimes that, like, the person that the parent chose as their power of attorney for healthcare to make decisions for them once they can't anymore, or take care of their estate after they pass, are sometimes like their life is a mess, and the kid that's not chosen, right, is like, why did they choose that sibling? Like, their life is a mess. There's blah blah. It doesn't make sense. And I just, like, after years and years of seeing this, the thing I come up with is that it is some kind of karmic agreement that they have chosen that. And sometimes there's a lot of, like, codependency in that relationship, or somehow they're maybe healing past lifetimes of who knows what. But sometimes it just really doesn't make sense on the outer, like, well, that person doesn't really make great choices for themselves, and now they're, like, making healthcare choices for maybe a parent that that kind of care wasn't really what they would have wanted. I go, look, if that paperwork is done, like, if that parent wasn't coerced, they had capacity when they filled out the paperwork to choose that sibling to handle things, then that's, for some reason, that is okay. We accept it. Unless something happens and then that can be changed. But if we accept it and realize, like, that, it usually looks like there's something to work out between those people. And it's very fascinating. It happens. I've heard it, it happened with not only my clients, but friends and things like that. That's, like, happens quite often. But it is important, as Carol said, to choose someone that, when you're choosing a power of attorney, of course, you'll choose that person that you've got karma with. It'll be someone who honors what you want. It's, that is in your, you write things up of what you want and don't want as far as treatment, and that they honor that. Yeah. Anybody else?
Can you see my hand is raised?
Oh gosh, no, it's funny. Your background right there is yellow, and I did not see it. Thank you.
That's so funny. And on my screen, my background is purple there.
Oh yeah, it's on the other side. So thank you for.
Oh, I see. Oh, right. It would blend right in.
Blended right in.
Thank you.
We'd love to hear from you.
I am, like, being blown away by the incredible support of this group right now. And that I've my whole life I've studied spiritual teachings. Also, for half of my life, I've done 12-step groups and Al-Anon and stuff that has to do with letting go of what I can't control and just focusing on what I can control. And I know the slogans, and I can tell other people this stuff. But as I've been listening today, I've been going, wow, okay, maybe I think I know that stuff, but how have I actually been putting it into practice or not putting it into practice? And with the two specific things that have been coming up here about serving versus saving, particularly in this situation of an aging parent, and I have an aging parent, and then the situation of an aging parent having chosen a power of attorney that might be different than I would like, or something. These two topics speak to me immediately in my situation where I am in my life. And I'm noticing myself being like, whoa, it's almost like I'm hearing about acceptance for the first time. It's like I'm hearing about letting other people have the dignity of their expression and choice for the first time. It's like, well, maybe I can do that with other people, but when it comes to my mom, I know what's right. And I'm thinking about when I've actually been chastising my mom, like, Mom, you know that I love you, and that's why you need to do this. And I'll actually get mad at her. And now I'm like, ooh, now I'm really proud of her for being cantankerous and talking back to me like, yeah, I think she should have, or she should do that. So I'm feeling a shift in the great love that I feel for my mom, and how I can show that love in a greater way with acceptance and honoring who she is and where she is, even if it doesn't match things, or even if I've told myself, well, she definitely needs saving. I mean, she has A, B, C, D, and E, and she can't control that. So I have to step in, and I should, and we should, and they should be doing it just the way I am. I mean, there's all this stuff that's like confessional right here. Like, whoa, I've been missing the mark. I've been missing the mark. The love is there, but there's a much more loving way I can express that. And just one little example of this is I feel this need to be anonymous. So I'll say a particular aging parent in my life has a habit of, when there's a trip that involves a plane ride, not packing until the last second. And sometimes this means that this aging parent doesn't sleep the entire night before a trip. And then sometimes this aging parent has issues with not sleeping and then traveling. And so there's a trip that's happening this coming Thursday. And I had literally just texted, is there any way I can help you with getting packed ahead of time, or support you? And I've tried things before, like sending a packing list or checking in every 45 minutes. How about your raincoat, or things like this? And then when, despite my great generous solicitations of help, this aging parent still did it their own way and maybe didn't sleep and had a trouble, I would feel simultaneously guilty that I didn't help enough, also resentful that they didn't take the advice or the help. And I'm looking like, wow, the redo could be having acceptance, being present, saying, hey, are you excited about your trip? You know, how's it going? And I'll miss you when you're gone. And, you know, this particular aging parent could definitely ask me if they want some assistance. Like, they definitely know I'm the person they could ask if they want some help like that. But I can choose to honor how they do these things. And then the other thing about the power of attorney, I've been kind of having a little bit of trouble sleeping myself, worrying about, okay, is this person who has the power of attorney, you know, there's an interesting relationship going on with the aging parent. And I've been like, how can I save the aging parent from the things that might happen? And really worrying about it. And I'm seeing, again, I can be more loving to myself by letting go of this. I can take care of myself. I can get sleep myself. I can be present and available. And I've definitely made my ideas known about, this is what, you know, this aging parent has told me they're interested in, and blah, blah, blah. It's another way of thinking I know best. And there's a lot more going on than what I think is right. And I feel this loving blessing right now from spirit, reminding me to take care of myself, which interestingly was what John Rogers said directly to me on more than one occasion. Take care of yourself. And I hear him say, take care of yourself, Dickinson. And then how to be more loving, and that it can be okay for things to happen that I think, well, I don't think that should happen, or I think that person wants something else. And maybe the person does want something else, but if they don't want to ask for that, I can't force that to happen. And how much dignity is that giving them? So I feel like I have a new reminder of the heart's marching orders. And, you know, I'm just a human, so who knows how it's going to go, but I feel this new hope, both for myself and for my aging parent and for our family system, that, you know, God is in charge and is watching over everything. And when I'm in acceptance, I'm closer to God. And I'm very grateful for this gathering and having these very impactful, important reminders of how to take care of myself, how to be serving as opposed to saving, and how to remember acceptance in my heart and trust that all is well. So thank you. Thanks, Dr. Cheryl. Thanks to our group.
Beautiful. Bless you. Bless your heart. Thanks for sharing all that with us. It is I've had so many, I'll say caregivers, right? Usually caring for their older parents, that when I start sharing about the topic like that, you don't have to do more than they ask, right? You don't have to save them. I mean, I've literally seen the stress go off of their body. They stand up taller, like a weight has been lifted off, because there's some sense of responsibility of like, a good daughter does blank, right? A good daughter does everything she could possibly think of to help their parents. So it's like a very loving way. And then you go, oh, you don't have to do that. Like, they're doing it the way they want to. It's like, really? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So it's sort of like, it leaves you more time to take care of yourself, right? And you know, you got your eye on them, and you have a plan B if you need it. So beautiful.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing updates.
Yeah.
Carol, did you have something?
Yeah, I have another kind of question with my own situation. I have an aging spouse. Of course, I'm not aging, but
Right.
Of course, I'm teasing. But my husband is going to be turning 85 this year, and he is physically in excellent shape, except for his hearing and his vision. And he does lift weights and he does take care of himself. But the vision is really a big issue. The reason I've been missing out on these calls is I've gone through 3 cataract surgeries with him, one of which did not go well. And since we live in Mexico, it means that we have to go across the border. We have to stay overnight a couple nights, and it gets really complicated. Plus, I've got an aging aunt that's 96, and I need to look in on her from time to time. She does as she pleases, and I'm good with that. But with my husband, I'm not good with this. The ophthalmologist checked his one good eye that had been through the cataract surgery, and it's really not all that good, honestly, and said, well, you're legal to drive. And I thought to myself, why is she saying that? he doesn't need to be driving. Even one of my very best friends who's the same age and is very close to him. And she says, he really should not be driving. At least I'm not going to ride with him. Well, today he took off. He decided he was going to go have his car washed. And we live in a small town, and that's really good because living in Mexico, the traffic is a little slower and there are not so many, the highways are not so huge. So it's a very safe situation. But I'm trying to deal with how do and I let him go. I mean, what can I do? I can't take away the keys. I'm not going to. But if he has an accident, it really affects me. I'm going to have to deal with it because there are a lot of things that I end up dealing with that I would not choose to deal with. But he's one of these people that says, well, you take care of it. And so I am also a long-time 12-stepper. I'm an Al-Anon person. So I've had a lot of experience with that. And I'm a long-time MSIA person. So I really have to move into acceptance of, well, more will be revealed. I'll see what I have to do when the time comes, and trying really not to worry about this. But I think my next steps are really looking into long-term care facilities near us, or maybe not so near us. I've already had the conversation with my daughter, and I will be having a conversation with you, Cheryl, for your input as soon as I can do a little more homework and also recover from the travel and the responsibilities that have been kind of coming in lately. But I guess my question is, how do we deal with a person that we're actually living with who's making choices that will affect us without trying to save and still save myself, and to be of service when that person thinks they can do things that they really should not be doing. So I'd love for some input on that from all of you. And that's kind of where I am today. Thanks.
Good question. So two things. One is I've got a few more minutes here. I'm at an office, so I've got an appointment at 1 that I'm using their conference room, so I need to go. But I think this sounds like a valuable topic. Like maybe we pick this up again next week and talk more about this, because it is true. It's so true what you're saying is like, it's easy. It's a little easier, say, with a parent that doesn't live with us. We're not on their insurance. Nobody's going to necessarily sue them, and it's going to affect us. There's like a different level of liability or responsibility. Like, oh, they fall, I'm going to need to take care of them, right? So it is different. I'll say for driving, I usually let the DMV handle that decision. Like if they were in the States, I'd say, go get the test. I'm not going to take the car keys. Let's go get a professional. Who's responsible for driving? The DMV. So we're going to go let them decide. And I think the other piece, the top piece, is having a conversation with them with your spouse, for example, and talking about the risks, that each person is taking. And, I know it's been on your radar for a while with your aging husband, and not us. Yes, I relate to that. And I would say almost always the next step will present itself. So you could think about it or worry about it, but you can just do the best you can. What's in front of you, what's on your mind to do that. Like if there's something like I really need to decide, like if there's something nagging on you, do that. And then trust that the next steps will reveal themselves. It will. It'll become very obvious. And we can, if you're going to be here next week, we can talk more about that and hear from the group and stuff. Did you want to close this out, Nancy?
Oh, well, since I had this situation with my dad, I wanted to say I appreciate the issue. And it took my dad about a year to give away his car and to not drive within that time. And so I'll save the rest of it for the next time we get together. So God bless us all.
All right, God bless us. Thank you so much. I love you. And we'll hope to see you next week. Take care.